Well, hello, everybody. Thank you guys for watching The Siren's Pearl. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This mesmerizingly beautiful romantic fantasy. I found myself in a trance with the gorgeous cinematography, the brilliant performances throughout, and of course, the storyline. A film that really touches on the idea of second chances and once in a lifetime moments. So I really enjoyed the film. And thank you guys for being here with me to have this conversation tonight. So before we get started, I'm going to call out your name, and I want you to basically let me know what your role is in the film, whether it's in front of the camera, behind the camera. Let us know who you are. So Diana.
Hey there. I am the writer, director, and producer for The Siren's Pearl. And this is my second film with this crew that you see in front of you. This is our second venture together.
Amazing. Sophia.
Hi, I'm Sophia, and I played the Mariah, the mermaid, when she was younger.
Awesome. JD or JB Bird?
Yes, Jennifer Bird. I'm
Jennifer
the editor and co-producer. I'm the second time working with Diana as well.
Awesome. Victoria.
Hi guys, I'm Victoria, and I played Victoria. I played myself, the mermaid in The Siren's Pearl.
She actually is a mermaid. She just gave it with.
Aaron.
Hey, I'm the director of photography. I don't know what else to say.
Had quite a job here, I'll tell you that. A wonderful job. Tommy.
Yeah, hi. My name is Tommy, and I don't think my character had a name in this. I think in the script it was just a really good-looking fisherman, but I shortened it for this. So, but thank you.
Awesome.
Good to be here.
It was Robert.
Oh.
Okay, Greg.
Yes. I'm sorry, I just got back on with you.
Okay, so yeah, if you just introduce your character in the film.
Yeah, I'm Greg. I'm the lead actor. I grew up in the same town as Victoria, and we've known each other forever. And I went away, and I came back, and it's us kind of reconciling and figuring out what went wrong. So that's my
Great. So this one's for you, Diane. I really want to ask this question. Where did you get this original concept for to create this?
Well, I actually, we were supposed to, all of us here, basically, we were supposed to be working on a film in 2020. We were all set to shoot in May of 2020, like all set, ready to go. And then we got shut down because of the quarantine. So It was only my second film. So I was really, I was really bummed because none of us knew what was going to be happening in our industry. And so I was just online. I was trying to stay creative. It was the summer, and I was looking at music for Victoria Gets a Life, which was the film that we were going to be shooting. And I just thought I'd jump ahead and pick out some music for that while I had time. And I heard a beautiful piece of music, which is the music that you hear in the beginning and the end of the film. It really touched me. It's just so incredibly beautiful. Sivan Tamor, who is the vocalist on that. And I just kept listening to it over and over, and I couldn't let it go. And then as most creatives and what we do, I started having, imagining scenes to the music, and it just kind of started forming in my head. And the intro to The Siren's Pearl is actually the scenes that whole first section when you see the mermaid and Smitty in the canoe. That's actually what I had completely envisioned. And I called Aaron and I said, Aaron, hey, I have an idea. I want to shoot a small video. I think we can do it because we'll have someone in the canoe, someone in the water. It'll just be you and me. We don't need a whole crew because we're outside and there's going to be music. So I think we could do this COVID friendly. And I said, I want to try it. And he was a little nervous because it was all about water. We were going to be on boats in water. But we did it. And it was, we shot that little video and I loved it. I loved it. And I showed it to some people and they were like, we love this. We want to see more of this. We want to see more of the mermaid and the man in the canoe. And they loved it. And because it's a period piece, I was that part of it. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be doing that. And I just kind of put it on the back burner. And then on Jen, my editor she's like, I really love this. You need to do something with this. And let's do something with Greg and Victoria and continue that on. And then it just came to me. I literally was just walking around, walking my dog. And the idea of it came to me. And I wrote the story. Yeah, just like that.
That's awesome. That's great. And you know what I'm finding really great about this is you have built a rapport and a relationship with all these people here. And it seems like you have like a go-to. And this is good for people watching out there that are wondering, how do I get into filmmaking? I think it takes time to build a great team, but it seems like you have people you can trust with your vision. And I want to jump on with Aaron real quick about that, because you had a unique task. Okay. You're not only doing a period piece and it made it look authentic, but you're doing something that's like majestic as well, fantasy. Like, what was your process in starting this? Like,
I guess I was thinking about, I don't know, the term cinematic is thrown around a lot, and I think it's very ambiguous what that is. But in the context of this, the way Diana described it to me, she just wanted something that was, I don't know even how to describe it exactly, but it's more on the kind of fantasy. I don't know, fantasy invokes a certain kind of imagery, just the term fantasy. Knowing that it was in a period piece, then you kind of almost in your mind, you think of more sepia tone and more kind of warm and, you know, a little bloomy, because I think of kind of vintage lenses, maybe that sort of idea. If you wanted slow-mo stuff, that made sense too. You kind of, you know, we're out there on the boats, trying to put that stuff together. And she just picked a good location. That really helps. I mean, luckily a forest in the 1800s essentially looks the same, you know, as it does now. So it was a matter of getting that. She was able to source that kind of antique looking canoe or boat. It's not really a canoe. Well, it's sort of a canoe. And then, you know, put the right costumes on. Luckily, it wasn't real heavy as far as like that kind of art direction goes. So she set it all up. Say again?
I was going to say, did you have challenges? Because majority of this film is filmed near the water, and I can only imagine there being some challenges with being on a boat with a camera, steady hands. Like, I can imagine there being some. Even the scenes just on a boat,
Certainly.
A big boat, and like the close or on the dock. There's a lot of stuff beside the water throughout, and I actually love that about this film. Is it stays consistent with whoever scouted your locations. Everything feels like it's right by the coastline, where it's like, you know, Greg's character coming back home, which I really like that idea. But I can imagine there being some challenges.
Yeah. So right after the rules of you don't film with children and you don't film with animals comes the you don't film on water rule, which is a little lesser known. And Diana's a little more ambitious than what rules might dictate. So she goes, hey, let's try this stuff. Let's jump in, you know? And I'm like, I'm interested in stretching myself as a creative person. So I'm happy to try things. And then, you know, as filmmaking goes, essentially everything you do is troubleshooting. So we predict what we can. We try to foresee what problems we're going to run into. But then when you get out there and you find 25 new problems, you got to roll with the punches. And luckily we were able to, especially like in that first scene, we were able to use really shallow water where the actor could stand and didn't have to constantly tread. We were able to find like the water was cold, as Sophia will attest, but we were able to, you know, kind of get through it fast enough that we were able to get some stuff that we need. You know, there's it's a lot of, planning and trying to anticipate, and then just planning to readjust. In filmmaking in general, that's kind of the rule. I'm lucky enough that I work in reality TV as well, and
Hmm.
that's all on the fly. You plan for what you can, but you're actually doing more readjusting and troubleshooting on the fly than normal filmmaking. So that kind of skill set for me has been fairly well tuned, and so I'm it's just something I enjoy doing, is really tackling
It's
problems
interesting
like
that
that.
you said that, that your background in reality TV, because there was moments in this project where I felt there was, two people filming, where there was two different stylistic choices. I know you did that for like, present day versus like the time period parts,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
a lot of what I noticed from the film, and I'm sure audience members will see too, is a lot of the present day stuff was freehand. It was very, uh, over the shoulders, very kind of like almost moving shots. And I noticed when you moved in the time period pieces, you had a lot of slow dollies. You had, wider shots. So I'm sure you and Diana, and I don't know if you guys use a storyboard for this project, or you guys said, you know what, we're gonna be. You had the creative. She gave you the creative like playbook, basically. You make this look
Y-
good.
yeah. She's good at describing what she likes. She did a good job of like coming up with imagery that I could reference. That stuff's all valuable. Really helping me kind of conceive what needs to happen. Um, you know, you want to make sure you're showing what you need to show, and not showing what you don't want there. So
Hmm.
um, you got to
Okay.
choose lenses in that way as well.
Can I jump
Look,
in? Can I
yeah,
jump in?
absolutely.
One thing I wanted to say was when we shot the intro, we had not planned the story. The rest of the story wasn't written. So that was shot
Oh, wow.
in August of 2020, and we shot the rest of the movie in 2021. I had taken, almost a year to write it, and we decided in April that we were going to start shooting in June and July of 2021. So they were two completely different events. They weren't cohesive, and that's one of the things that I love so much, is that we brought. I can't really talk much about. Well, everyone will see this afterwards, right?
Well, this is yeah, saying after.
Yeah. So being able to bring the beginning back to the ending and have it end exactly like it started, that was a big, huge thing for me. But the rest of the movie, it was basically built after we had done the little music video. And that was just something that I never thought I was going to turn into anything. Right. I thought
Wow.
it was just something that I could do while we were masked up for COVID, that we could actually do because there was only a couple of us. And I just needed to do something creative. And when I talked to Aaron about the idea, I knew Aaron is very humble. But I'm telling you, that man, I've said this to him before, he's a Swiss Army knife, and he has such a great aesthetic, and creative eye. And I trust him, and he is really good about, and I'm going to put this out there for filmmakers when you're working with your DPs, and trust is, Aaron is really good about not telling me no unless it absolutely is impossible. So I trust him when I say, can we have her balancing on a ball, standing on the deck over the water, jumping up and down, right? And he's like, no, that cannot happen. But other things, he's like, let's go for it. Let's try it. Let's do it. And I love that about Aaron. It's one of the reasons why I love working with him. He's got a sense of adventure, and he has a fantastic eye, and I trust his shots.
That's amazing. So now, like you said that about, he doesn't like to really tell you no. Now I'm going to go to somebody who may have told you no. I don't know, maybe, but to your editor. And editors, they're like the moral compass of films, I say, because a lot of times the director has a vision and the cinematographer tries to convey that vision, but the editor sees all the performances or sees your pacing and has to tell you, listen, this story could be better, possibly a different way. So right to the editor, did you feel like there was everything that we see in this movie in the end result, or is there a different movie somewhere on the cutting room floor?
There's lots of different movies out there. There are lots of different movies out there. I do want to circle back one thing to what Aaron was saying, though, if that's okay, if you don't mind, if I derail this for a second. Going back to his reality television, and one of the things he's really good at that I did, and I know this wasn't planned for because I sort of picked it up off the cutting room floor, was he would go out and pull shots or just find beauty out there while he's waiting for other things. And he did that a lot. So he's waiting for Diana to set up. So he would start filming a hawk circling around or something. Oh, look, it's chasing his drone. That ended up in the edit. Or he got a brand new lens. So he starts trying to get close-ups of dragonflies while he's waiting for things to set up. So if you'll notice, there's now this dragonfly theme that runs throughout the film. So dragonflies are, transformation or metamorphosis, which is very appropriate for this film. It also just happened to be the name of the boat they're standing in front of. And Aaron's grabbing all these beautiful dragonfly shots for me. So all these things that weren't necessarily planned for, but because he has this eye and he's seen the beauty that's around him while they're filming the story, he's going to give me those shots anyway. And so a lot of times I'm going through the footage, I'm saying, hey, Diana, did you ever know you have this? Look at how pretty this is. Let's figure out how to work this in there. Or let's figure out how to do that. And what I love about working with her is she's always up for that. And she trusts me and she lets me try something different. And she will often tell me, I'll go through and I'll put a scene together. I think we did this in the open. And she's like, that's great, but that's not what I wanted. Now let's go back and tear it all apart and do it the other way. Like,
but I do say it nicer than you just said.
Yeah, but that's what I
sure
hear.
You do.
She does. No, she does. She's only yelled at me once, but
no. Jen surprises me all the time. When I did my first movie with her and I didn't know what I was doing, Greg and the Tree, I had no idea. I just had no idea. And so when she showed me the first draft, and Charles, you haven't seen it, but the opening scene, you guys will remember that opening scene with the music and all that. I was just like, because that's not what I was concentrating on. And that's when I realized how, oh my God, I just lucked out being able to work with Jen.
She screamed and she hit me. And that's the first time I remember working with this woman before in my life. And she's like, ah, and smacks me. I'm like,
but I'm very lucky that I did work with Jen. I'm not kidding. And Aaron introduced me to Jen. So I feel very lucky about that. But Jen is the real deal. She's like a big wig. She does a lot of editing big time. And the fact that she works with me on my films I am forever grateful. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what you just brought up a really good point, and it's part of that thing where you guys have trust, but you also brought up how Aaron brought Jen onto the team. A lot of people got to realize if they're getting into filmmaking, and there's a lot of people out there that they don't want to network. It's like a part of like what we do. Like actors, I'm pretty sure all of you actors out here, you wouldn't be in this project if you didn't network at some sort of, mixer or put your business cards out there or whatnot, auditioned. It's all a networking thing. It's a big web. And I just want to put that out there. You have to network to get good people and meet new people. So that's a beautiful thing that you met each other through circumstances like that. So I want to jump on to the actors a little bit, and we're going to go back to the crew and whatever. But you guys have a dialogue heavy film. There's a lot of emotional moments, romantic stuff. There's a lot of body acting in this film. With the mermaid sequences and the positioning of bodies. I just want to first of all, like for Victoria and Greg, you guys had to build chemistry on set. And I imagine in the beginning, I mean, you might have known each other before this, but what was it like in the beginning versus the end result of how your characters got to that point? Like, was your first scene like, the big romantic conclusion, or you guys had to build up to that level?
Who's going to take that one?
Greg, you go first.
This ought to be fun.
You're muted.
Don't try to get away from it, Greg.
I built it up, in my head, it was going to be like this know, but it wasn't nearly as awkward as I thought it was going to. I mean, it would be I think, a lot different if, you know, we didn't like each other. You know, you hear about
Yeah.
stories about how lead actors and, you know, they can't stand each other and yet they still have to have this kind of chemistry. So in a lot of respects, you know, it all came naturally, you know. I mean, Victoria's obviously, you know, a beautiful woman. And it just wasn't as awkward as I thought it was going to be. And I think it, in a large part, is just because I really like her. You know, it was felt a little bit more natural than I thought it was going to.
Yeah. And I think I'll follow off of that. Yeah, like Greg and the tree on the bus, we just had that connection instantly, just sitting on the bus, and I just feel like, you know, it came from there, and then just yeah, you know,
Did you
every
guys?
time you get, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna add in there. Prior to shooting, you guys either worked before together, or was this your first time?
Oh, Greg on the
Well,
tree. I was
yeah.
the girl on the bus at Greg and the tree, and Greg kept getting on
It was my first
the
film.
bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first film. And also, Victoria and Greg have known each other. Victoria has been a close friend of my family. It's actually one of my closest friends. And so Greg and her have been around each other periodically just through years. So they knew each other. So they weren't strangers. Yeah. And then they worked on a small film I did. It's the very first film I did. It was only like 11 minutes. So they already had they just worked together. And that's the reason they had such good chemistry in that film that everyone asked me if I would do another film with the two of them in it. And I was like, no, I don't have anything in my head, right? I was like, oh, that's sweet. I love that, right? But then Jen told me, you know what? If you're going to make another film, why don't you make Greg and Victoria the lead, since people want to see them? And that's how that all happened. They loved the chemistry of them.
Okay. Yeah,
And I was
makes
genuinely
sense.
blushing, definitely genuinely blushing every time he got on the bus. I'm like, I can't look.
We won't talk about that film because we're talking about this.
But the makeout session was very nerve-wracking.
It's got to be awkward a little bit.
Yeah.
It's always awkward because for those of you guys that don't know filmmaking on the outside watching this, I'm pretty sure that wasn't done in one take. So after a certain point, you're like, all right, I need to get some chapstick or breath mint but beyond that, in general, the chemistry in the film, this is a dialogue heavy film. For things to come off natural, I'm imagining you guys had some time to rehearse, or you just showed up on set and this was go.
Yeah, they'd have a lot of time to rehearse and kind of down a little bit, but it's it's interesting. It's you always think about the filmmaking process, but very rarely do you get to look out and see the other side of it. Of the cameras and the director standing there, and it's just it's kind of a surreal kind of environment, especially it's new and you're not really used to it. It's really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right. So Tommy, I'm gonna throw you in this mix. You are also a part of this team that's worked on various projects, right?
I have, yes.
Okay, great. So with your role in this film, how did because with your role with the screen time you have, how did you get the most out of your performance in that?
Oh, well, it was easy. It was fun. I just had fun. And that's just how it kind of came about. Very limited. I think I only had a few lines, right, and only 2 scenes, I believe, Diana. But having worked with this team on a previous movie, already had some familiarity with everybody and felt very comfortable. So it just kind of came.
That's awesome. I know. It's always at the Seinfeld episode with the I forget what it was. He was in a Woody Allen film where he said these pretzels were making me thirsty, and you overthink. I feel like when you have limited dialogue in a film, people overthink things, and it's every part in a production builds the entire picture, and it's great to have character actors come steal the show, make you laugh. Going on to Sophia's character, you had to do a lot of stuff primarily with your body and eyes through the production, and also there was a lot of makeup design. I'm curious about that and the process. Or was this? I at points I was like, am I looking at CGI over her, or this was actually a whole makeup artist? And
we don't have a CGI budget. I would love a CGI budget. That was all like everything.
Yeah, it was main.
I'm sorry.
It was mainly my mom and Diana and me doing the makeup before I went out there. We did it right before we went on the canoe out there.
okay, you were going in and out a little bit, but you said your mom, like, is your mom like a famous makeup artist? Or, you know, my mom's very talented, but I don't think she can do that.
So her mother is my sister. And I called my sister and I said, yeah, Cindy, because she does great work. And I said, okay. I need you now. We need a makeup artist. I couldn't book anyone. I'm going to do this. We're going to do the makeup for Sophia. And she's like, okay. Mm-hmm. And we did it. And we did the makeup for Victoria too.
Yep.
Yeah. When I was seeing that, I was imagining it being uncomfortable, because we all know how long some of this stuff takes. Maybe you guys did it in one take. I've actually heard filmmakers say they shot like every scene in one take, and I find it hard to believe. But being in makeup, submerged in water, and, you know, having, you know, Aaron balancing on a boat or something, I can imagine there being a little bit of challenge. What was the challenges about shooting in a scene like that, Sophia?
You want to tell him about
and Victoria? You both can answer.
You could tell him about the fish.
About the fish?
The fish.
I remember when the fish, because so we put Sophia in a mermaid tail just in case we needed, because we were trying to shoot that, but the water was too murky in that spot. So she was standing, you know, kind of out in the lily pads, and the fish started circling her. Remember that? They were circling her because they didn't know.
I remember now.
And the dragonflies were bombing her because that dragonflies are very curious.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
there was a lot of dragonflies.
Yeah, and I was in a different boat, and Aaron is in one boat, and I was in the back in another boat, and the wind would kind of move us, and I kept telling, you know, Sophia, you know, look mysterious, and she's like, ah. It was. I was so proud of her. Aaron, you remember that, right? It was a crazy day.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
We were trying to.
It was a long time ago, so I don't totally remember it super well. But we didn't think the makeup was going to stay on very well in the water. But I, from what I remember, it stayed on for the most part. I think we might have reapplied some parts, like on the hands, because the hands were under the water. But for the face, for the most part, that was pretty good. There wasn't too many challenges with that.
Yeah, we were doing makeup on paddleboard, a stand-up paddleboard. We'd push my sister on a paddleboard, come by, do some makeup, and then just paddle off. Yeah.
Did you guys film the Sophia and Victoria scenes like simultaneously, or was it different times?
They were a couple years apart, actually.
Wow.
Sophia's part, like I said, that whole intro to the movie, we shot that in August 2020. That was the vision I had for the music that I heard. And there was no plan to do anything past that. So that was just that's kind of standalone thing for, you know, me to do something creative during COVID, basically, and COVID, you know, compliant, right?
Yeah.
And so when we shot Victoria, I had already had the experience with with Sophia, so I knew what to expect. Aaron, you know, we'd already been out on that lake, and we had experienced that with Sophia. So we did Victoria's makeup in 2021. And then we had the close-ups that we did with her with the prosthetic and things like that. That was done by an actual makeup professional makeup artist, and we did that. We had to kind of cut it up for, you know, in different parts, and just like everything, you know, Charles, you know this, when you're, you know, even when things are going as planned, they're not going as planned, and sometimes when you're working with water and we're working on boats, sometimes things work, sometimes they don't, sometimes the boats don't cooperate. Sometimes the water doesn't cooperate. Things that, you'd think, okay, we'll just get her in the water, Victoria or Sophia in the water here, but there's muck on the bottom of the lake, or there's things going on, and it's just constantly saying, okay, we're going to pivot and we're going to work the problem, and we're going to just make this work. So
yeah, that's great. I was wondering too. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I do remember trying not to chatter my teeth at a while when it was getting so cold, and trying to like stay afloat, and then it was getting really cold, and you're like, don't let your teeth chatter. You're trying to, talk and then not like chatter your teeth. That was pretty hard.
That was happening with Sophia too, because, I don't know if you guys, once somebody starts chattering, it's almost impossible for them to control that.
Just stop.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing, just real quick, since we're talking about the water. But Greg and Victoria out in there in the water, Sophia was standing, but Greg and Victoria, for almost all those scenes that you saw them in the water, they were treading in a deep lake.
Yeah.
They were not on near the shore. They were treading that entire time that they were talking. Wow. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember Victoria had a problem sinking, not floating.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Victoria's buoyant, and she does not sink. Like, we could barely get her.
I couldn't sink.
To go underwater.
To go down. Yeah.
It was so strange.
I know.
I don't know why I couldn't go under. You were trying to push me down or pull. Yeah. So we had to get weights on my feet to pull me down under the water.
Oh my
God.
Don't
say that. Don't say that. That's not buoyant, girls. Don't say that. We did not put dead weights.
I mean, no, you didn't put weights on my feet. No.
It sounds like it's becoming a mafia film. Did you tie her feet with a cinder block and just throw it off the boat?
Well, some of the scenes had cinder blocks in them.
We did. We sat on a chair. We lost your Birkenstock.
Right. I was going to add on there, because, with Sophia and Victoria playing, having these mermaid sequences in the film, they were filmed years apart, nowhere near each other. My thing is, what was the continuity like? I know I can imagine with the editor, Jen, and did you have someone on set working with continuity, a script supervisor, or was that just on you, Diana? Like, what was happening? You just matched pictures side by side?
No, that is the bane in Jen's existence. Continuity with me. I'm like, oh no. She's like, what does this say on the clacker board, and why is it not matching up with anything else? I'm like, oh, we had to improvise. I knew where everything went. I knew where everything was supposed to go, where we could draw everything. But Jen, that is one thing I think that if you could change anything about me, is you would love to be on the sets with every scene, I think. And honestly, Aaron knows this too. It would probably be so much smoother. Oh my God. If I could say anything, if you can afford to have a scripty on your set, it makes well, I don't know, because I haven't been able to experience, but from what I know and the problems we had, it would make such a big difference. I think it's a very important crew role.
I could tell you firsthand from having script supervisors versus not, it makes a world of difference. First of all, the notes they take are so valuable for the editor. Now, a good editor is going to watch all the footage anyways, but they highlight the issues that are there on set that day. Whether there was, a plane flew over and we're in a time period section, that's not going to work, or whatever it may be, continuity, poor performance. But you didn't have any poor performances in this film, so that didn't happen. But you know what I'm saying? It's very valuable to have one if you can, or if you even can get a volunteer and, hey, throw them a few shekels, whatever you got to do to get them to work.
Well, I was very lucky that I get to work with Jen. Jen has an incredible aesthetic, a great eye. She's very experienced. She does this for a living. And she is, I'm always impressed with, she'll take something that I'll be like, oh my God, what are we gonna do with that? And she'll be like, well, I don't know either. And then I'll come back the next day and she goes, okay, this is what I did. And it's fantastic. It's like, oh my God, it's fantastic. The way she cuts things. She's fantastic with transitions. She is so good. I mean, Aaron sets her up. He makes sure, he does such fantastic work. But Jen she is a premier editor and slicer. She knows how to work around a problem. But she also isn't just an editor. She has such great ideas, things where I'm staring at it, and I'm like, oh my God. She comes up with solutions that are so solid and really she makes the movie. Jen, wouldn't you guys all agree? Jen makes the movie, right? She does.
Good job, Jen.
Good job, Jen.
But what I will say, and I'll add to the Jen thing, is and go to the cinematography and even the performances in the film. There's a flow to it. It's almost like water. There's a flow throughout. I don't know if it was just something that happened because, like, there's a lot of moving shots where the characters are walking or they're kind of, flowing through the woods, and the transitions are the same way. They cut that way. They fade into each other. There's a lot of stuff that feels like we're on the wave with them. And it's a teamwork together to create this vision, because it wouldn't work if Aaron just did it by himself and if it wasn't edited that way, as well as the actors and the placement of the characters and how they move from point A to point B. So it really shows that you guys planned what you accomplished. It wasn't just, you guys didn't just throw, spaghetti at the wall and see what stuck, but you guys actually pre-planned, and planning is a great part of filmmaking. The more you plan, the better, I'm sorry if I'm saying like stuff that you guys already know, but for those out there,
planning is everything.
For those out there that, there's a lot of filmmakers and there's a lot of films that didn't make it to this year's selection, that they had great ideas, but clear things were missing was the planning process. And that goes for performances with actors. You can have the best writing ever, but if your actors aren't studying their characters beyond just the lines and really digging deeper than the surface level, everything's kind of flat. So it's like a collective journey, filmmaking, collective team. And I have a question that's going to be for everybody. And I think it's an important question. I'll start with Diana, and it's going to go around. But as a filmmaker, what do you feel is the most important when conveying a story?
Well, if you don't have a good story, it doesn't matter what else you have. You could have a great cinematographer, a great editor, great actors, but if you don't have a good story, it's just going to fall flat. Like, it probably won't resonate. But my most important thing when I'm thinking of a story and I'm writing is the characters. For me, the characters are everything, and everything comes from them. The story, how I, create the first, second, and third acts. It's all about people falling in love with either, not liking the people I don't want them to like, or in loving the people that I want them to love. And I think character-driven movies for me are the ones that I want to watch. I want to see them, and I watch them over and over again. And I think sometimes if you have a really good concept and that's all you see, and you create your scenes just on the concept, but you don't really delve deep into your characters. I mean, even if you don't have a lot of time, even if you're doing a 5 to 10 minute short film, there's ways that you can do that. Because if they connect with the people on the screen, they will sit there and they will watch it, and they are committed and they want to watch it the whole thing. If you don't have, characters that people can connect to, they're not interested in what the characters are doing, or even the end of the movie, what the outcome is. So I would say, as a writer and a filmmaker, I think having really fully developed characters is the most important thing that you can do.
Awesome. I like the answer a lot, and I totally agree with you. I'm going to go to Sophia. So as an actress, what do you feel is most important when conveying a story?
I have a pretty similar answer. I think when I'm like looking for a movie to watch or a show to watch or something, I also look for characters I recognize or actors also that I like, and then that makes you want to watch the movie. Like if you just see, if it could be a good concept, and that can also make you want to watch something, but seeing a character you like or actor you like, that's what draws a lot of people in. I think that's most important for me.
Awesome. Jen, as an editor and a co-producer, what do you feel is most important when conveying a story?
I think it's the emotional journey. So it's all the pieces of film work together to take the audience on the emotional journey with these characters, with the moods, with the drama of it, to take them through the story. And if it's not, if the music's off, if the acting's insincere, if the characters aren't developed, they're not going to get sucked into the emotion. They're not going to follow it. But if those all play well together, then you're just right there with them and you're feeling it as if you're part of this whole story. And I think that's the most powerful part of filmmaking.
Yeah, it is the emotional journey. I love it. Victoria, as an actress, what do you feel is the most important thing when conveying a story?
I too also agree the emotional journey and the love part of the movie too, or Diana said, I definitely agree with that. And just the characters and like the scene in the pub, it just I think everybody loved that scene. It was kind of like the scene of what is the sign or not sign, what is it? When Greg walks in and everyone's like, hey, and just everybody knows
Oh,
what's the name of that
cheers.
pub?
Yeah,
Cheers,
cheers.
thank you. It's just like everyone wants to keep watching that. It's just like the characters sit at the bar and yeah, I just getting them sucked into it and just wanting to follow their story. And so that's how I believe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Aaron, as the director of photography, what do you feel is the most important when conveying a story?
I'm not sure I can say anything that won't sound cliche, but my main thought is that in order to best convey a story, you need all constituent elements to clearly convey those elements of the story together kind of harmoniously. You want music that matches the tone of what the characters are feeling. You want actors that are expressing what the intent, maybe even the subtext, clearly, what the story is trying to say, not just the words they're saying. You want images that, complement, but not. I'm kind of in the Deacon's camp. I don't want to, as far as like cinematography goes, I feel like you don't make something beautiful just to make it beautiful. It needs to be complementary to what the scene is conveying. So you make it match the feeling of, what the story says, not, oh, look, they're getting in a fight, but man, look at those mountains. That's such a nice scene there, that would be incongruous. So my I guess harmoniously aligning and clearly conveying what the story says is kind of the ideal in my head.
It's crazy. What you're saying, it's hitting me home because like there were so many points, I want to say in the editing process of my last project where like we were filming at these really amazing locations and like I was asking for shots that I knew weren't going to make the final cut just because we were there. Like, how could we not, like, can we position our characters so we can have that as the backdrop? Like we need that in the film, but then it would take away from those intimate moments that were most important, where you didn't even see the background. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. Greg, as an actor, what do you feel is most important when conveying a story?
I think probably just maybe resonance. I think you really want the people that are watching me try to portray this character. I just want them to resonate, kind of with what I'm feeling. I mean, everybody goes through heartache and whatnot, and I think it takes a certain level of sincerity to really really play that off. So it takes an enormous amount of vulnerability to kind of step outside yourself and really kind of try to push for that, to try to make it authentic and real so that people can resonate with kind of what you're going through. And I think that's probably the hardest aspect of acting that I had was, you know, to really kind of pull that vulnerability out so that it feels sincere, you know, that, you know, the people that are watching it kind of can resonate and it can kind of relate to what the character is going through. It doesn't fall flat.
I think that's actually one of the most important parts of acting, in my opinion. I mean, if you're able to go to those emotional depths and be vulnerable, that's true acting. You know, that the audience could believe you are what you say you are or what you're supposed to be on film. You can't just deliver lines. You have to feel those lines. I don't want to sound too method here, but in a way, you know, one of the things I'll say about your character, Victoria's character, and the chemistry we feel, there's a lot of moments in there where, like, I'm a big Cameron Crowe fan. I don't know if anyone knows Cameron Crowe's work.
Singles.
Almost Famous, Vanilla Sky, Jerry Maguire. There was a lot of Jerry Maguire type feeling in this film. And I'm not trying to compare, but where I saw like Victoria as like Renee Zellweger and Greg as, you know, a better looking Tom Cruise, you know, and their performance together. Sure. Yeah, Greg, I'm not trying to gas you up, Greg. I'm not trying to gas you up. But in the film,
I'm going to watch that movie tonight.
But there's comedy thrown throughout it. But then there's these vulnerable moments and the soundtrack that, you know, blows people away. I felt the resemblance. Not nearly the same film. Not saying you're inspired by them in any way, but for me, I felt it, and I felt that authenticity with the characters and the performances. So you did your job.
That's awesome. Did your job. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you. So this is an interesting question. I have a bunch of different questions, and I'm trying to say, like, what can I ask next? So there's so many different creative people coming together on this project, Diana. You got a lot of great ideas. How do you handle creative differences? You just say my way or the highway, or is there like, do we meet in middle ground here, or?
Okay, so there's several sides to that. You know, as the writer, not just the director and the producer, because I'm the writer and directing, I know exactly why the words were written. Mm-hmm. I wrote most of the parts for the people that were in them, so I know them. I know how I want them to emote. I know how I want the audience to feel. I'm hoping that I can get them to feel that way, right? So I also am working with a lot of funny people who are very smart and witty. And so when there are certain things, I will let them kind of ad lib. You know, there's times when I'll say, you know what, because I trust them. I trust their comedy and I trust their, you know, their sense of timing. And so once in a while, like Tommy had some lines that he ad lib. Greg will ad lib some of his. Victoria did his as well. And then a couple of the other, Ryan and Jonathan, who played Carl and Patrick, they ad lib some other things too. And I just feel I want them to have a safe space to feel like they can do it. And I'll either say, love that, and that's what we'll keep in, or I'll just say, I like it, but let's stick to what's written because I like that better, right? Or I feel like it fits the moment better. Mm-hmm. So I hope you guys feel that, but I feel like I want to be collaborative. I mean, I'm working with a lot of really creative, mm-hmm. you know, bright people. And just because I wrote it and I'm directing and I'm producing that, you know, that makes it seem like I could just, it's all mine and I could be very precious with it. But I don't have all the ideas. I don't own all the great ideas, right? And so collaboration is everything. And then when you have people who are maybe seeing it for the first time, or we've gone over it and they just, you know, everybody has a different take on something. And at least one other person is going to have a better take on something than you do. It's just, that's just what is, right? So there are times when I'm like, nah, I want to stick to the script, or I want to do it this way. and there's been times like I did that with Jen and Aaron, where Aaron will want to, you know, shift something. And generally, a lot of times I just let Aaron goes, I want to try something. And I don't even second guess. I'm like, yeah, go. Just whatever you want to do, and just come back when you're done, right? But there's a couple times where I was just like, this is what I want. Like, no, this is I want to try this first. This is what I want, and this is what I'm seeing, right? And he nails it every time. And Jen's the same way. There's a couple times. One of the things I love working about Jen. I mean, no one is always going to be on the same page. It's just not going to happen. That's the dream, but it just doesn't happen. Jen and I, in general, are on the same page. I also trust her aesthetic. I know that she absolutely, and Aaron's the same way. They understand. We work together enough that they understand what I'm looking for. And they actually, I think you're getting to know me well enough that, you know, when I'm trying to explain something and it's not coming out, you guys get it, right? But there's also times when they both see a scene footage differently than I do. And I just want to make sure, and I hope I've conveyed this. I want to hear those ideas. I won't take all of them, but I take enough of them. And there's times when Jen said, look, this is not happening. And I was like, but she's really good about saying, okay, do you want that scene in there because it means something to you that isn't going to really drive the story forward? You just see something pretty in it and you want it. Or there's something sentimental about that you want, but nobody else. It doesn't affect anybody else and it doesn't drive the movies forward. That's the kind of stuff I need to have. I need to have that bounce off. I need Aaron to say, yeah, we can set up and we can get that shot. I know what you're looking for. I don't think that's what you're looking in your head. I don't think we're going to get it today, or we're not going to get it with that light or that thing. So if you're as a director and a producer, mostly as a director, if you are closed off to that and you are not listening to the people that you have hired who know their space, and they're better at things than you are. If you're not willing to listen to those people and take their ideas, you shouldn't be directing.
Well, Diana's really good at listening to those. One of the examples that made it into this film that is one of my favorites that pops up when you're talking about this that I'm thinking is the ice cream shop, when we made the gay comment in the ice cream shop.
Oh yeah.
She didn't intend to do that, but Kelly gave Greg a look that if I just changed one edit and made, I forgot his name, look at Carl.
Oh, it's Carl and Trevor?
Yeah, Carl and Trevor look at each other instead. It changed the whole meaning of the scene. And I thought it made it funny. Diana didn't recognize it at first or intend it that way. But once I showed it to her, she's like, oh, yeah, that is funny.
That's so great. I love it.
And she went with it. So she's open to suggestions and ideas, even if it's not what she intended.
Awesome. Great. Filmmaking is a collective experience.
It absolutely.
You need everybody on board. It's, you can be a dictator on your set, and chances are you don't have all the answers, and you're to come up short. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people try to, whether it's just a lot of people want to cut money, or save their budget, cut corners, I should say. And at times, what they do is they put on in independent productions, we put on way too many hats already, but they put on all the hats and they end up being the editor, cinematographer, the main actor. They're cutting themselves out, walking into shots, whatever it may be. And a lot of times you're going to come up short because you're not getting those other ideas, those other, people have different expertise and they're coming to the table with other experiences, and that's valuable. You need that. So that's great.
That's why you hired them.
Exactly.
So why would you hire those people? And then when they say, Diane, I think that we need to pivot with this, and here's why, and it's actually a really good idea, but you're so precious with your material. You're like, no, we're going to do it the way that I wrote it, and whatever. I mean, there's no point. Then you should be doing it yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Filmmaking is incredibly collaborative. And unless you go into your film set thinking about that, and thinking with that mindset, you are going to have a miserable time, and everyone around you is going to have a miserable time. And I have to say, there are times, there are a lot of times, because we're indie filmmaking, right? And we're always chasing the light and the budget. I'm always chasing the light and the budget. And there are times when I've had to ask my cast and crew, okay, we are at the 12th hour. Everyone was on set at 7:30. We're tired. Things aren't going well, and we just need to finish. And we're like, I need one more hour from you guys, right? And And if you don't have a crew, a cast and crew that believe in you, respect you, and also believe that you have their back, they're going to be like, we are done. Right. And when it's the times when I need you guys, like Aaron and Greg and Sophia, you guys all know, and Victoria, when I need you guys to just say, I just need one more hour, or like it's hot and we're tired and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when collaboration comes in. Don't you think? I mean, that's when we're all in this together. But if you don't
100%.
give your cast,
Yeah.
if you don't give your cast and crew that kind of respect, or even, space to feel like they're part of the set, you're going to be very miserable. Everyone will be miserable, and you're not going to get crew next time, or cast.
Absolutely. It's great. A great point you made. I'm going to move forward to Sophia real quick, and got a few other questions I definitely want to ask you guys, and got some hot, heavy hitters ahead of us. So, Sophia, as an actress, what do you do to ensure you get the best performance? Like, what do you do personally to ensure that you're going to get the best performance on set that day? Like, every actor, actress has their own method or way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. This was the first thing I've ever acted in, and I would say there wasn't a lot before, besides, I guess, like studying the type of character I played. But I mostly listened to Diana and like what her vision was on this short film, and I just listened to her and her critiques mainly, and I think that's what had me perform the best.
It's good that you brought that up, because it was your first performance. You didn't go in there acting like you knew everything, and you took criticism. Good job.
Feedback.
Feedback.
Not
feedback, criticism. Constructive criticism, nowadays we got to be careful what we say, but constructive criticism is a great thing. And, if it wasn't for that, like, I don't know where I would be, because I would just think I'm doing everything correct over the time. But and the end result, your character did well. It looked good on film, and you had a great team behind you that you trusted, and you guys got family too. So you just got a talented family and friends and whatnot. Awesome stuff. I'm gonna go to Jen now. So you're dealing with different software now as an editor, and things are consistently changing in this ever-changing world. Okay, so how has technology changed in filmmaking in recent years, and in what ways have you adapted to these new methods in editing?
I personally love technology, and I'm having fun with it. So right now I've been playing with any AI tool I can get my hands on, trying to figure out what to do with that. Just 2 weeks ago, I was trying to get Diana to, in real time, text edit for me. So it would text edit to Premiere, will make the edits in the edit bay and do a radio cut for me. So I personally, I like to play with all the tools I can. And it's just, as far as my career's progressed, that's sort of how I've ended up where I am now. I started off, what is this Photoshop thing? How do I play with After Effects? Next, I'm playing with Avid, and now I'm leading television shows, post-production departments. So it's, you have to stay on top of the technology, and it's there to make your life easier. I know there's a lot of fear around AI, but honestly, AI is just going to help the talented person work smarter. It's not going to take your job. It's going to make it easier. And then the people that can harness it are the ones that are going to keep moving forward, I think.
Awesome.
I agree.
Well, I always want to ask a technology type question, especially to an editor, because dealing with editors and even camera equipment's always changing. There's always better lens out there and whatnot. And you find people that are stuck in their ways sometimes, and you can't possibly do your job to the best of your abilities if you're not learning new tricks of the trade. So it's an awesome thing to incorporate.
Play with all the toys that you have available.
So this one's for Aaron. This is this is a preference question, and you can take it as you want. When you're doing this film, what type of shots or camera angles do you prefer, and why?
For this type of film, I think it's more of a character-driven type story, more intimate, and so I like doing a lot of close-up work in that case, so you can really let the actor shine. It allows you have to work less as a cameraman, other than, of course, pulling focus is a little more challenging, but you have to work less when you get to see more what the actors are feeling. It allows them to work a lot easier. Not sure what else. Just what, I like adding. I'm a big motion fan, so I like adding motion when I can, but a lot of this, other than like the scenic stuff, there wasn't a lot of need for it. It didn't serve the story correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just the nature of, a piece about people rather than events. You get to intimate shots, nice, tight, close shots, shots that connect people. That's my kind
I
of
can't
goal with it.
imagine. Sorry to cut you. I
Oh,
can't
no, that was
imagine
it.
this film, and towards the climax of the film, if we had just seen a lot more of these shots pulled back into like a wide, how different they would feel. The importance of those close two shots where Victoria and Greg are looking into each other's eyes, and he's vulnerable and letting her know how he truly feels, and he's pouring his soul out on the table in front of everybody. It wouldn't have felt the same, and those decisions make all the difference, especially for this film, which is very intimate and romantic.
Yeah, I agree.
So going to Victoria, what did you find to be the most memorable moment on set?
Oh gosh, that's a tricky one. All of it. I don't know. I loved every minute of it. Every scene, I just didn't want it to end. I kept wanting to do it again. Every part of the movie was amazing. I loved it. I can't pick one memorable moment. I really can't.
Wow.
And
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's great that you feel that way, but a lot of people, a lot of actresses and actors that I've worked with or even have had conversations with, they're so stressed out during the filming process that they don't take in that this is like a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
After they're done shooting, they're like, I should have had more fun.
I loved it.
I'm making a movie. I should have had more fun. And then but that's great that you have those memories on set.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I just can't, Diana just made it so much easier, because I get so nervous under pressure. Like when you're asked the questions, even now, I'm like, but she just made everything so easy. You just trust what Diana says and you just go for it. And I loved every minute. I want to do it again.
Awesome.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Greg, I want to throw you in here real quick. If, let's just say, Diana's like, we got to reshoot this whole movie. We're just doing it all over again. What would you do differently as your character, if anything?
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Right. Really, that's my technology problem. No, are you kidding? Let me do my scenes over and over again. The biggest help that I had doing either of these movies, because I had never acted before, was the ability to be able to watch what I had done. I got a lot of direction from Diana about, you need to, you move your head around too much, or you flick your eyes left and right, or you do I have these mannerisms and these quirks that I don't really realize, until you actually can look back at some footage and you're like, oh. So I think it was really just the ability to see myself acting actually made me a better actor, because it made me realize, that a lot of my quirks, my little ticks, is sometimes, you can build out a character that way, I guess. But until I actually saw it, I didn't really realize, a lot of what I was doing.
That's awesome. I think it's actually really important for actors. I know it's a lot of, I'm one of those directors on set, you're not seeing the footage, because I've had circumstances in the past where, like, when an actress watches their scene back, they like have a meltdown. Even though it's exactly what I want, they're like, oh no, I got reshoot. And I'm like, no, it's great. But then, like, I don't want them to be in that headspace. But sometimes when you step away from the project and, like, the director pulls you in to view yourself, it gives you a visual proof that what they're telling you is, you see here what I mean? Your blocking might be off, or, there was one thing that I remember the DP used to constantly reprimand me. Like, literally, he was getting pissed. He's like, you keep on looking in the lens, cut it out. Like, it was when I was, first started doing some independent films, I had a habit of just staring into the lens while giving a monologue, and that, you're breaking the fourth wall, and just don't do that. But those are things I wouldn't have known if I hadn't seen myself doing it. So it's great you brought that up. So we're gonna sum this up pretty shortly, but I want to go back to you, Diana, real quick. And this film, there's so many different creative minds coming together. You guys made something great. Gonna keep on nailing it home. What was the hardest artistic choice you had to make at any stage of this production?
This is something that I discussed with both Aaron and Jen quite a bit. Is, I'm a big sci-fi and fantasy geek. I love fantasy movies, and some of the best things that I've seen, Lord of the Rings, right, and some things like that. That shapes what I'm looking at and what I'm writing, right? And both Aaron and Jen would have to tell me, Diana, you don't have the budget for Lord of the Rings, so we have to, and Aaron was like, we have to modify what you want us to see and what you want us to do based on what we actually can do. Not that we don't, Aaron was always, willing to stretch things. And when I'd say, I want to do this thing, he'd be like, okay, let's try it. Let's try. Right. And let's see what we can do and how far we can go. But there's just certain things that I couldn't get to match the vision in my head because we didn't have certain things and CGI and things like that. I feel like, and Jen's like that too. I'm like, Jen is like so good about when I say, okay, I want it to look like this or whatever. And she's like, I haven't done that before. I don't know how to do it. So, and I go, well, can you try? And she's like, and then I come in the next day and she's totally done it. She totally does. Seriously. I'm like, oh my God, that's not only what I wanted, but it's better than I was thinking. Right. And so I'm like, so don't, I know that you can do these things. Right. So my biggest thing is actually reining in my expectation to fit my budget. That is like my biggest thing. And I mean, chasing light, chasing budget, right? And so sometimes I just want to go bigger and grander, but we just don't have the ability to do that, right? And so that's when I have to kind of level set myself and say, okay, what is the absolute best thing that we can do with the budget we have, with the location we have, with the resources we have? What can we push and really make this, amazing and pop? And so I am always looking for that because I do have some things where I want big set pieces and I want, like the mermaid with her looking like a mermaid and all the underwater shots. I mean, I was really big with Jen. I said, Jen, I want someone to be sitting in a movie theater at the end and I want them to feel like they are underwater. And for a moment, I just want them to be immersed in the color and the seagrass and the seaweed and the blue and because I love that. And I'm like, I want people in the audience to feel that moment. Right. Yeah. And that was a huge thing for me, as I wanted people to get into the world of the mermaid and how can we do that? Right. I was very, very happy about how that all turned out. That was a big deal. That was a big deal for me.
I think it came out great. I'm going to say something controversial. well, maybe Disney will sue me. Maybe I shouldn't. But there, you know, that movie that came out with mermaids this year, I'm not going to say the name. When there was so much CGI in it, there was nothing real, nothing tangible. And that's one thing this movie did better. You felt like you can touch the mermaid, that she wasn't, you know, a digital specimen. She was there. She was, you know, real. That's what it felt like. You know, we weren't seeing some amalgamation of CGI and computer work, which is also a skill in itself. But for a story like this that is set in reality, even though it's like a fantasy, whatnot, that's a wonderful thing. And the fact that you were ambitious and you tried something a little more risky. I mean, you could have made a romance story that didn't involve all these fantasy elements. You could have done that. People would have still done it and liked it. But the fact that you took a risk, it's very inspirational that you can do crazy things as creators and filmmakers by being resourceful. I mean, through this conversation we've had over this past hour, you worked with people you trusted and knew. You have family members that have talents. You know, you were able to stretch things where people were like, I can't do that. I don't have that person to work with. But you were able to do that. And the collective skills of many, beautiful thing. One last question for everybody, and then we're going to call it a wrap. What's next? Okay. What is next? It could be what is next for this production, or what is next for you in general. So Diana, you want to go, and then we'll go down the list.
Yeah, I am actually, the movie that we were originally going to shoot in 2020, Victoria Gets a Life. We have tried to get that, you know, going. And for some reason we've always been kind of hindered with, you know, COVID and locations, things and stuff. And we are still actively, going to try and make that happen. So for me, and I have 2 other short films that they actually were short films that I wrote at the very beginning. One of them won a festival, and it's actually what started me on my short film journey. And I think I'm going to go back to that and actually, Jen and Aaron shoot that. That's another short film. It's only probably going to be about 10 minutes. But I have some short scripts coming up, and, you know, ultimately, you know, I want to direct. I want to direct not just for myself and my own things. I'd like to, you know, branch out and be hired as a director, and I'd love to do a feature. So this is definitely, you know, I love it. The fact that I've been able to do it is astonishing to me. That I feel lucky that I found my passion. I feel incredibly lucky that I'm able to do it. And I'm only able to do it because of the people that I'm surrounded by. And I'm not just saying that. It's just absolutely the truth. So I just want to keep doing as much as I can. And, you know, I just had a conversation with Aaron and Jen a couple days ago, and they were like, maybe you should wait. And I'm like, no, I can do this. Well, just because I don't know who said it, Aaron or Jen, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I'm like, no, we're going to keep rolling forward. We're going to keep doing this thing. So that is a blessing and a curse for me. You know, I ideate and I actionate. I want to get it done, and it is a blessing and a curse. But I am hoping that in 2 years from now, I will have another film in your festival, and we'll be having the same conversation. That's my goal.
That's awesome. I look forward to your future and what you do. And like I said, if this film was edited any other type of way, I'm sure you have Jen has a whole other story probably on a timeline. But this film could be considered technically a feature, depending on how the credits could be a couple minutes longer, slow them, like
just to get it to 40. Well, we actually had it at 41 minutes, and we cut it down because a lot of film festivals won't show shorts that are 40 minutes. They have to be just under 40 minutes. And I just feel like it's just not long enough to compete with feature films, obviously. Yeah, film festival. So
it's tough because the feature films have their own like award categories.
Yeah.
And short films, if they're too long, like for example, like with our event, we have an opening night, and they're very short films, a bunch of them, and then a feature on opening night. If we had a bunch of 40-minute or 35-minute shorts, it would, you get a lot less people in attendance, and it kind of works like that. But wonderful film. I can't wait to see what's next and what else you guys create. Sophia, so what's next?
I don't have many upcoming plans besides school, but maybe I'll have. Oh, I just honked my horn. Maybe I'll have a feature in one of her upcoming movies. Who knows?
That'd be wonderful. I mean, what you got to do is you got to clip this movie when she throws it to you, and get your reel out there. And there's plenty of wonderful sites out there, casting networks, you name it. I'm not trying to, product place here, but you want to try it. Push yourself out there while you get a chance. There's a lot of independent productions looking for dramatic actors and actresses out there.
Yeah.
Jen.
Good to know. Thank you.
I'm going to keep balancing the day job and helping Diana with this next one. I'm hoping that she's going to take me to Ireland when she films that one as well. I don't think she spoke about that one, but
yeah, I haven't told Victoria yet that we're all going to stay at her sister's house in Ireland. We're all going there to shoot. Yeah, it's my only spooky. I'm not a horror person. It's very hard for me to get in that, but I wrote something, and yeah, that would be great if we get to go to Ireland and shoot that.
Oh, awesome.
Who did you say you only told whose house you stayed in?
I said I didn't tell you that we're gonna stay at your sister's house in Ireland. I haven't told you that yet.
Forget my sister. Say my mom's. She's got like a 5-bedroom house.
Okay.
It's way more room. We'll all go.
All right, you know what, Charles?
I'm going to take that as an invitation and start booking flights.
I know. When you start talking about stuff out loud, that's how it can start to happen. So that'll probably in 2 years, that'll be the film.
Let's manifest it, yeah.
So Victoria, what is next for you?
Well, Victoria gets life. I literally am getting a life. That's what I say every day. Yeah, just working away, and yeah, I'm looking forward to doing the Victoria Gets a Life. I can't wait. Just every time I do, I learn more. So I'm hoping I get better and better every time. Yeah. Thanks to Diana.
Awesome. Aaron, what is next?
I'm a full-time freelancer. Got a couple shorts that are in post-production right now. One of them's one of them's a sci-fi one that's on the festival circuit. I'm not sure where it's at right now. Got a feature in post-production right now. Otherwise, I work in TV, so I do some of that.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah,
very busy.
Yeah, a lot of corporate stuff too. So
it's awesome.
Yeah,
you got to stay busy, in it to win it.
Yeah, I love it. I'm lucky.
Greg, what's next?
Kind of really enjoyed the whole production aspect of it, So I wouldn't mind being a scene director. I wouldn't mind getting into the production side of it, and getting into the business of actually making movies would be really cool. So
what?
Yeah.
Are you after my job? Is that what you're saying?
It's so awesome. I think that is so awesome. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with over the years who they're either inspired or they find a newfound love, and it might not even be a director, or they want to write their own screenplay, or hey, they end up building a rapport with the cinematographer and they want to learn how to do that, and they kind of on the job training in a way, and you end up building careers. Like people find passions they never knew they had. Sometimes you have actors come on set as an actor and they end up being behind the scenes because they end up preferring that more. And there's just so much stuff to love about being in a movie. So I totally agree with you, Greg. I think that's awesome. I think you should go for it. And you never know. Maybe you could write something one day and submit it to Catskill.
Well, Greg asked me if he could be the scripty on my next film. So we'll see, since I need one. So we'll see how that goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's wonderful stuff. Awesome. But listen, guys, this has been an hour and 20 minutes. There was a lot of you guys on here. We had a lot of questions, and I want to thank you guys so much for submitting and trusting us with your project. You could have submitted to anywhere in the world, and you chose us. you know, us, a little festival out of the Catskill Mountains. You chose us, and we're really grateful for this wonderful work, and that you guys gave us an hour on your Thursday night to do this Q&A. I appreciate it so much, and I want to tell all the viewers out there, if you like this film, vote. There is a lot of award categories that are primarily up to the audience to choose. Now we have our own, there's a lot of other categories too, but there is specific categories that are right on our website, CatskillInternationalFilmFestival.com, that you can go on there. And this goes for you guys. You want to tell your team to vote, vote, vote for your favorite projects, because winners sometimes take all. Sometimes it's one vote difference. And if you have a following, they're going to vote for you on multiple award categories. You know, that's kind of how it works. So I've seen 2 or 3 films sweep awards or win or lose by a point. So it's, or a vote. So it's a crazy thing. And I really, I'm rooting for you guys. And I hope to see you in person one of these years. And it's going to be a great opening night. I hope you guys are going to be following online and watching throughout the week. It's going to be awesome.
Charles, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. It's been very fun. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it's been lovely.
Thank you so much. You guys got an awesome team, and I think this has been a very insightful conversation.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Yeah,
I will
fun.
Thank you.
Charles.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.